That's where I got the idea. All you got.
I don't see the ears on that picture.
Oh yeah, hey, the ears need to be a little bit. Hey, look, I just drew my ears.
Dr.
Sir?
Should have put the bandage on there to kind of like.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
That's you after you're well.
You almost
I thought the ambulance was here.
We should be. We should be live.
She said you heard it, man. You said you heard it.
Sound like a watermelon.
Dang. That's rough.
Now you get a watermelon and you
got a big old gash. They
go.
wanted it stitched up, but it's the same scar that I had from Strong. And they said that since it was already scarred, even though it's worse, they wanted to put stitches, but they couldn't since it was already So
Yeah.
they just kind of put some sticky stuff on it and cleaned it up a little bit.
Well, luckily, crazy this out.
Yeah, they gave me a CAT scan and they said my cat's still good.
Said the cat was still good?
Yeah. Hey, kind of like they said on Varsity Blues, they scanned my cat. Remember that? Remember Billy Bob said, they scanned my cat.
How did that change? Oh, that's sour, brother. Oh no.
You see cooking?
Oh no, sir, not today. I'm not gonna get that good today. I got you. Alright. Here we go. I don't mind. Hold on. Sir.
Gilbo,
Yes, sir.
get your car turned on.
Yeah. Awesome. Sir. 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 Oh, 8. All right, sir. Yes, sir. Now,
Give him no hell, give him no hell,
they got them bars waiting.
You signed in sheets,
Yes, they already on say.
I know.
Been around these guys up.
We only have some fun,
Straight
Traffic, that's
All right. Let's see the spot.
How are you doing?
I feel pretty good. Had a little bit of issue, but did we sugar? Did you get sugar cookies? No, I don't need sugar.
Singing food.
Yeah.
Well, you be careful.
If I get a little bit,
Yeah. Some of you guys are new. Some of you I have met just about everybody. We're not starting yet. We don't start till 9 o'clock because we're on TV. We have other groups that are tuning in, so we don't have to start till exactly 9. But I want you to know that we have to sign in on the right sheet, and you have to have your book.
we're on TV.
Sir?
No, you gotta.
Now, we have to sign in on the sheet. Make sure you get your name on there. Make it legible so that I can read it. If I can't read it, you may not get credit. Now, we want you to get credit. You always have to have your book. And we're on page 21. We always start on page 21. So if you don't have a book yet, we need to get with your counselor and get you a book. And we'll start. We've got a couple of minutes. We'll start right on time.
So, they can see.
All right.
It's 3 months. They sure is those streets. What is that? Why you want to do Robert? Are you so worried about whether or not they so you're like starting on me right now, right? Right. Like last night I was like Tyler was like, he's learning from beer. I was like, that's no great. Did we wonder why? Whatever. Do you notice that because Cecil, because anybody here, Cecil, oh, I'm friends with it too. But see the effect you have on people? They cute little puppy dog eyes and shit on for counts that down. Alright. We know that it's out. We know that. Oh, that's what I like. He's such a kid. No, he is not. No, he is not a kid.
Hey, Brandon, you out?
That's a letter or something.
All four.
Those way.
Sir. You do good work. Everybody signed in?
Yes, sir.
All righty. All right. we're close enough. I want to share a couple of things with you this morning. I know there's some new people here at South. There's also probably, I don't know for a fact because I haven't been over, but I'm sure there's some new people over at North. So some folks may not know me. I'm Dr. Garner. I am the clinical manager here at South, and I'm also going to do the facilitating some of the groups in the morning. This is what I've been doing for a long time, so they may keep me doing this for a while, but we'll see. So when you come to group in the morning, there's 2 or 3 things that's important. What do you think? What's important?
Being on time.
Being on time.
Attendance and attitude.
Yeah, say it again.
Attendance and attitude.
Attendance and attitude. Man, that's good stuff right there. I need to write that down. That's really good stuff. But that's true. We need to be attending, and we need to be here on time every time. We're going to take about a 15-minute break here after a while. I want y'all to know that it probably because I've been on vacation for a couple of weeks, I don't feel all that well. I'm diabetic, and I'm going to guarantee you I stuck right to that diabetic eating plan and all of that stuff for those. No, I didn't do well. So, I had some ice cream and stuff like that. Things, I mean, when you're out there and it's just some stuff you do. So, had a good time. Went to 5 different parks and enjoyed most of them. We went to one in Florida called Falling Waters State Park, and they call it Falling Waters because the highest waterfall in Florida is in that park. So when we went through the gate, it said Falling Waters State Park, and then it had a big sign under there that said dry. There was no water at all. So some of them were like that, but others were just fantastic. So glad to be back this morning. I don't know exactly what we're going to do for the rest of the week, but this morning we're going to start off kind of at the basics. And we're going to go from there because, like I say, there's some new people here, and it doesn't hurt to go back and look at some of the basics sometimes. So I was told this week is kind of a mix between a couple of them on our thing. And so we're going to look at our physical health this week a little bit, and we're going to go over all of these 5 things on the physical health. This doesn't mean, look, we just trade over these things for once a month, and we go over them again. Here's the deal. Wherever you are in your book, if you've just begun, go back into the beginning of your book, go back where you've just begun, and start from the beginning and go all the way through the book. The book is a bit too long for you to complete while you're here in treatment. But this is your book. You take it home with you, and you can continue to use it when you go home. So start at the beginning of the book. It is set up so that as we go from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, we get some pretty good information. I've gone through the book, and I agree with everything that's in here. So just do that. We're gonna every morning we're gonna be on page 21, but that doesn't mean that's where you start. You start where you're supposed to once you leave this group. So on page 21 in the physical health, when usually look, I don't know how many of you guys it's true, or you ladies it's true with. But for me, it was true. When I was in the midst of my addiction, and I am an addict, except that God has removed a lot of this mess from me, and I appreciate that so much. But when I was in the midst of my addiction, I wasn't worried too much about my physical health. What I was worried about was like this guy here. What do you think he's worried about?
That girl?
Yeah, you see what happens? He said, I can't stop. And I know y'all can't see it very well over at North, but let me tell you, this is absolutely a magnificent painting. But this looks like somebody who just can't resist. And, it's a good thing to be humble. And, I'm really humble. That's why I'm not charging y'all to see this. It's free. But, this guy's telling us he can't resist, right? Have y'all ever gotten to the place where you felt like you just couldn't resist?
Yeah.
You had to have it. You couldn't do anything about it. Wasn't even your choice. I've been there. That's because your limbic system, and we'll talk about our limbic system. I don't know if we'll do it today, but if we don't do it today, we may do it tomorrow. My limbic system is what's telling me that if I don't get something to drink, or if I don't get some cocaine, or if I don't get some whatever, then I'm going to die. Your limbic system is one that tells you to breathe. It's one that tells you to eat. It's one that tells you to have sex. It's one that tells you to use that drug or you will die. And here's the deal. If you're convinced that you're going to die, are you going to do it? Yeah. I'm not ready to die yet. I went to my doctor yesterday. And she said, well, if you die, you die. She didn't care. I'm looking for a new doctor. I want my doctor to be real sad when I die, right? Yeah. I don't want one that says, all right, you got an appointment in December, come back then if you make it till then. So this guy's saying he can't resist, and he can't resist because his limbic system is telling him that he's going to die. We'll talk a little bit more about that. He's also saying, look, he said, I can't stop. Is that the same thing? No. I can't. No, it's a little different because I can't stop using because I can't resist it. Why do you think we do this thing one day at a time? Doing it for 40 years is too hard. Doing it for 40 weeks is too hard. I'm going to do it for 40 minutes. Sometimes I've had to do that. I'm not going to use this hour. Maybe at 12 o'clock I'll use. But here at 11, I'm not going to. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to wait till 11 or till 12 or till I'm going to 1 hour at a time. I've done that. And that's hard. It's hard. I've also done and still do one day at a time. Today, this day, I'm not going to do that. Today, this day, y'all know I'm in recovery from alcohol. I'm in recovery from drugs. I'm in recovery from sugar. Today, this day, I'm not going to do any sugar. Did I do any yesterday?
Maybe.
Oh, I did a lot. I did a lot yesterday. It was bad. I had thought I went to get my oil changed, and I had shot myself up with a little insulin, and my sugar was still at like 200. And I said, well, I'm going to have some milk and a biscuit for supper. That's what I'm going to have for my evening meal. Is my son made some big old buttermilk biscuits. I'm going to have one of those in some milk. That's going to be so good. But I better take a shot before I do that. So I shot myself up, and I had just been to the eye doctor, and so I couldn't see. So I shot myself up with 6 cc's instead of the 2 that I was doing. And so, before I knew it, I'm sweating and all of this stuff and shaking. I checked my sugar, and it's at 57 and going down. Right. Yeah, no, my God, that was bad. So I ate some M&Ms. A whole big thing of M&Ms. And I ate 2 bags of cookies. So I did some crazy stuff, but I had to do it to get my sugar up. So I got up this morning, and it's up like 300. So, I'm in recovery from that. And people kind of laugh at me when I say that, but I will tell you what, I get the same cravings. My limbic system tells me the same thing about sugar as it does about alcohol. My limbic system for a long time was screaming at me that I needed to have alcohol. I had to have it. If I didn't use it, I was going to die. Right? Now, sugar does the same thing. So a lot of the times we let our physical bodies deteriorate while we're using our drugs and stuff. So yesterday we were supposed to look at the first one, which a lot of the time, a lot of us get to this place where my physical health is in poor shape. And it says, interested in, that's supposed to be uninterested and unengaged in physical health concerns. Poor nutrition, poor or non-existent physical activity. When I was in my addiction, I was homeless. I lived under people's houses. It's hard to do any physical activity. It's hard to come up with any food. It's hard to, when you're doing everything you can to get alcohol and drugs, and you're living under somebody's house. So that's exactly where I was. I weighed 138 pounds. And as tall as I am, 138 pounds is not really all of that bad, because about 145 is good for me. But I got into some trouble, and guess what the judge told me? In the midst of my addiction, got into some trouble. Guess what he said? So I'm gonna give you a choice. You're going to jail. I got into some real serious trouble. Okay. Said, you're going to jail, and you're gonna be in jail a long time. I said, that ain't much of a choice, dude. He said, or you can go to the Army. Y'all seen my Army hat? I went to the Army. I was in the Army 5 years. Yeah. I should have stayed 25, but I was in there for 5 years. Grew me up. Done some good things. Say it again. Somebody said something? Oh, that was him over there. Oh, yeah. So today we're looking at something that's contemplating. Just kind of thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. So here's the deal. Once I get into a little bit of a recovery or something, I'm going to start thinking about it. I was about 20-something when I got out of the military, and I started thinking about more. The military makes you think about your health. We ran 5 miles a day, and we did all of the calisthenics every morning and all of that kind of stuff. And then when I got out of the military, I still wanted to keep that up, so I started working with weights and doing all that kind of stuff. And that was 50 years ago, and I'm still doing that. So it's a good thing. So we get to the place where we start to contemplate it a little bit. So we started to think about making better physical health choices. Right? Moving, doing something, eating better, walking, running, doing something. But we've not yet really developed a plan, and we don't really have an idea about where to start. So where do you start? Right here, right now. We get up and we walk around. I watch Mr. Gold. Every day he's going to walk the whole parking lot. He's going to do some stuff. That is really super duper good for him. It's really good. And we need to do some of those things. But if you don't need to lose weight, you still need to get your vascular system working. How many people have ever raised their hands like that? If you raise your hand, just look. That's nothing, isn't it? That's just nothing, just raising your hands like that. You know what that does? When you raise your hands like that, it forces the blood that's in your arms to go back to your heart, and your heart pumps it out to go to other places in a better way. So isn't that a good thing? That's fantastic. I do that a lot in church. I'm praising my God. I'm lifting my arms and surrendering to the Lord Jesus. So, and that's really healthy for you to do that. So just doing something is better than nothing. So you start right where you are. So, all right. So we're going to look at our question today. Our goal for the group today is to figure out what addiction is. I've had so many people. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm older than most of you. Next Sunday, if y'all want to throw me a party, is my birthday. I'll be 72 years old. I've got underwear that's older than most of you. Yes, sir?
I don't think he can come up.
Probably can't. Yeah, there's probably not that many candles out there either. So, well, I'll just have to do without it. But, say it again?
It's going to be quiet Sunday anyway.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not, well, not Sunday. I'm not going to be flying Sunday. I'm going to be flying on Saturday. Sunday, I pastor a church, so I'm going to be raising my hands to my God. But, Saturday is the plan to fly. So I'm going to get out there. I don't know what I'm going to do or where I'm going to go, but I'm going to do something. So, anyway, what is addiction? Anybody got an idea? What is addiction?
Sickness.
The fact that I'm addicted. What is that? What does that mean?
Sickness in our mind.
Patterns of behavior.
Addicted in your mind. What is it?
Behavior patterns.
A pattern of maladaptive behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
It's insanity.
It's insanity. Yeah. The big book calls it insane. What we do to ourselves is insane. Think about it. Think about it. We'll go out there and we'll use drugs and alcohol and we'll mess up our family, mess up our health, mess up our finances, mess up our home, and then come back and defend it. It's not the alcohol that's doing it. It's not the drugs that's doing it. It's something else. So we'll defend the stupidity, but we'll stay in it, and we know it. We're not dumb. There's not now, we've had some dumb people, but we don't have any right now, right? So we know that using that stuff's going to get us, don't we? We know that. That's why we're here. We know all that. So addiction is this. Look, what does this say on this bottle of booze? God. Why do we have God on a bottle of booze?
To the addicted person, that is her spiritual plane.
It is. Yeah. This. When I was in the midst of my addiction, this was my God.
Right.
It controls.
It controlled everything I ever did. It decided when I got up. It decided when I went to bed. It decided where I went, why I went. Every time that I was going to go somewhere, I had to make sure that there was alcohol or drugs there that I could use. Every time that I just made a plan to go on vacation or something, I had to make sure that there's going to be alcohol and drugs there. When somebody would call me up and say, hey, man, we need you to come over for lunch, or we want you to come for supper, or we want you to come visit, I'd have to make sure that there were drugs or alcohol there. I'd have to do all of that kind of stuff because that alcohol was my God. It was my God. And I did not do anything without consulting my God. Yeah, and it was pretty convenient because there's all these churches around. They call them liquor stores. But there's all of those places of worship where you could go in and you weren't by yourself. There were other people who were in there and you could just watch people going from one part of that store to another part of that store just worshiping their God. Yeah. One of the things that helped me was to get to the place where I understood that there is a higher power. And that's what, that's why we want you to go to AA and NA and stuff like that, because they get you to switch from one higher power to another higher. I want to know that, my higher power is the Lord Jesus Christ, and I just turned everything over to Him, and that took the idea that alcohol and drugs could be my God away completely. So I had a new higher power, and that's what we want you to be looking at when we ask you to go there. So, addiction. We're going to talk about it this morning. Look, and I'm going to tell you, most of us have a really good idea what addiction is. We already know. We already know what it is. Does that mean we don't need to study it? Mm-mm. I've been in LCDC now for quite a while. But every year I have to do continuing education. Why? So I get new stuff that comes in so I don't forget the old stuff that's out there. We have to be very ethically minded people. And so we have to, every year, we have to take hours, at least 3 hours, sometimes 6 hours of ethics. We have to do that every year. So we have to do that. As an alcoholic, as an addict, I need to continually keep in front of me what this disease is.
They're still learning about it all the time.
Right. Exactly. They're still learning about it. They're still telling us new stuff. And so we here in this place, we need to understand that we need to be learning about my disease. If the doctor came and told you that you had cancer, what would be the first thing that you would do?
Read a book about it.
Yeah, panic, go get a drink, stop. No, most people, just like you said, would figure out what type of cancer I've got, and start researching the cancer and seeing what can be done about it. And, all of this kind of new stuff that's going on with my cancer and all of this stuff. They just said that AI is going to cure cancer within 5 to 10 years. You believe that? No, I don't believe that. I believe AI is going to take over the world, though, but I don't know if we got 5 or 10 years. I feel sorry for you young guys. I'm going to be 72. So, whatever's left of me, I ain't too worried about it. So, look, here is what is addiction? When we ask the question, what is addiction? This is what needs to run through my mind. Addiction is a disease. That's the first thing I need to get a hold of. Why is it important for me to know that my addiction is actually a disease? Why is that important?
To realize it's destroying you?
To realize that it is destroying you? What would you?
They can work on curing you.
So you can work
on treating.
Say it again?
You know what your disease is, you can treat it.
Yes.
You know what it is, you can't treat it.
Right. Years and years and years ago, people like us, they said, well, you're just morally corrupt. Some of us are morally corrupt. I got some moral issues going on. I do. We all do. But here's the deal. If you're morally corrupt, what are you going to do? Ain't much you can do about it. You're going to have to get saved. You're going to have to find God. You're going to have to do something. But in yourself, ain't a whole lot you can do. A lot of other people said, look, there's a guy named Jelinek, Dr. Jelinek. He was real big into that. Said things like, you know what, it's a willpower. If you wanted to hard enough, you could do it. There was a president's wife that started a program. Every president's wife starts a program. And this lady started the program that said, just said no. Hey, look, if you don't want to have all the problems that drugs and alcohol cause, just say no. Okay, if we could just say no, I'd be out of a job, right? Yeah. You'd be out of treatment. Just say no and go home, right? It ain't like that. Not like that. So it has nothing to do with your willpower. Now, willpower is part of it because it took your own willpower to have the first drink, right? And to have the second one. And to have the 15th one. And then to say, well, maybe cocaine would be kind of, let's snort a little bit of that. I wonder if smoking marijuana, it's good for glaucoma. I don't have it, but if I smoke the marijuana, maybe it'll keep me from getting it. Something like that. So it was our own willpower that told us, yeah, go ahead and use this, try that. It'll make you feel funny. Okay. No, but if it was about willpower, we'd just go home. We'd be okay. So understanding, I know that I was in despair. I was at that place where I was just about to fall apart. I was at that place where I knew my life is going to end one way or another. It's the end of me. I'm going to die. I'm living under people's houses. This is crazy. This is nuts. I'm just gonna die. And if it's a moral thing and if it's a willpower thing, there's not much I can do about it. But then somebody somewhere said to me, look, let me tell you something. This thing is a disease. And just like you said, when somebody says you got a disease, how many people know that there are diseases out there that you can't cure? Yeah. You can't cure cancer yet. Can't cure HIV. You can't cure all of those chronic liver diseases and chronic this kind of heart disease and chronic that kind of disease. You can't cure those things, but what can you do? You can treat them. You can treat them. And so when they elevated my disease to the same level as all of those other chronic diseases, that meant to me, hey, there is a treatment for this disease. And that treatment, I can go to places like this. I can listen to people like me, which is called talk therapy, and I can do some other things. There's medications that can help me, and there's all sorts of other things that can help me. And I can go to AA, NA, all of those other places where I can get some support, and then I may be able to not only live with this disease, but get beyond this disease so that it does not destroy my life. So how long do you have to go to AA or NA or something like that to be cured?
You'll never be
Yeah, you ain't gonna be cured. It's a lifelong thing. Now I want to tell y'all this. I want to put a caveat on this because I do believe, and I've seen God do it. I do believe God can take that disease away from me. But I believe God can take any disease away from me. I believe we have a healing God. And I was prayed for last Sunday at our church, and we had a guy had a real bad migraine headache. He was prayed for and things, So I do believe God can do that stuff. But outside of God, there's no way to get rid of it. It's the only way to get rid of it. So look, addiction is a disease involving continued use of a substance in spite of serious substance-related problems. It doesn't matter. When we get to the place of addiction, we know that, hey, if I have this drink, if I take this shot, if I take this smoke, if I do this, if I do that, then I'm going to go to the depths of my depravity. I'm going to go to a real dark, black, bad place. Right? If I use just this one. But we convince ourselves that one is okay. One okay?
Oh.
No. I don't know what he's cooking off in there, but man, I might want to try that. That smells good. So, and it's always about substance abuse problems because substance abuse will cause us some problems. Is using alcohol wrong? Not really. Yeah, it is for us, but if somebody, doesn't have an issue with it, is legal, is socially acceptable, it's okay. In some instances, where can you legally drink alcohol? At a bar? At your home? At a restaurant? You can't drink it anywhere else. You can't go out down on the street and drink alcohol. You can't stand on the corner over there and drink alcohol. You can't come outside and just on the road somewhere and drink alcohol. You can't drink alcohol while you're driving your truck. It's just illegal anywhere. It has to be a licensed place to sell it or at your home. Yeah. So this disease is a disease that you're going to continue to use it even though it's caused us some really bad issues. Even though it's caused us some really bad stuff, we're going to use it. Such as loss of control over the use. I lost complete control. And, sugar does me the same way. I walked through the store yesterday, and I'm walking by there, and there's a box of what vanilla wafers, vanilla cookie, the little vanilla cookie. And I'm looking at that, and I said, man, one of those would be good. And they would. I love them. They're not real strong and all of that. One of those would taste really good. But how many people know that if I got one of those cookies out of that pack would be empty before I got home? Because, that commercial about the potato chips that says nobody can eat just one, my name is nobody. Because I can't eat just one. I pull one of those cookies out and that sugar gets in my system and boom, I got to have another one. I'll pull the next thing I'll do is pull 3 or 4 of them out. Then I'll close the box up real good and I'll put it over there. I'll say, well, that's all I'm going to eat, 3 or 4 of them, and not that big a cookie. They're not going to bother me. I'll eat those 4 and then I'll open the box back up. And if that 4 didn't bother me, I'll eat 4 more. And before you know it, there's nothing left and my sugar is through the roof and I'm not feeling good and all of that kind of crazy mess. So alcohol and drugs do the same thing. I can have just one nice cold beer. Because after all, alcohol's not my problem. I had some issues with cocaine. right? I had some issues with marijuana. I had some issues with methamphetamine. So that's not my problem. So can you do that? No, because addiction, if I'm addicted to methamphetamine and I have one nice good cold beer, then it's going to demand that I have one more and then one more, and then I'm mething it, right? That's the way it works because we're addicted to it. Such as loss of control over the use, a health problem. There is no illicit drug that you can use that has any good health problem. I mean, health benefits. Now, I know there's somebody can tell me that that's not true. Who is it? Which illicit drug out there can you use? I knew it. I knew you said right front row. That's got good health benefits.
Actually, marijuana.
Marijuana?
Marijuana.
Yeah.
People with some kind of retina problems.
Yeah.
It helps your eyes.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, I don't know.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you research it, if you really get behind it and research it, they say that there's an ingredient in the marijuana plant that might help a little bit for some people with glaucoma. That's the pressure in the back of your eye. And it usually, and it's not the smoking dope is not what helps you with glaucoma. It's a portion of, that doesn't have the pill that they give you for that, doesn't have any THC in it at all. No THC. You don't get high. You're trying to get something for your eye. And that's helping back there. I have people tell me, well, it's good for stage 4 cancer. Is that true?
It is a pain relief.
As far as pain relief, it might do a little bit of that, but it doesn't do anything for the cancer.
Right.
It has no medicinal properties in it at all. Now, look, they did come up with a thing where if there were some kids that had real bad seizures, and if they smoked marijuana, it would help the seizures to calm down. It would help them to calm down a little bit. But they did with further research, or they figured out that it's not the THC, something else in the plant that is helping them to calm down. So they came up with a pill that's made from it. And it helps those kids to, THC has no medicinal purposes. But there's people out there who will tell you that it does. Why would they do that? Yeah, most of them selling it to you. Yeah. So it doesn't have anything. How about cocaine? Does it have any medical uses for cocaine?
I've heard that they still do use it. Something. Surgeries or something?
We use it for deep eye surgery.
Right.
That's why it's not a number one. But we have the 5 stages, or the 5, it's not called stages, 5 things where the drugs are. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and marijuana is the number 1. And those are the worst drugs. Those are bad drugs. They have no medical uses, and they're illegal, and you can't have them. Marijuana is the number 1. Cocaine's the number 2, because we do use it for deep eye surgery. So it's still, you can't have it, and it's not legal for you to have it, all of that, but it is a medically used drug. So, we're going to have health problems, or even it can cause some negative social consequences. Some people, it doesn't cause as many social consequences that I would like for it to, but it does. A lot of the times, we don't see those social problems happening when we're using drugs or alcohol. And why would you think that is? Because in our social circle, drugs and alcohol is a norm, right? When we go out to hang out with the people we hang out with, drugs and alcohol are normal, right? We're always using drugs and alcohol in that circle. So that's one of the reasons we tell people all of the time, you have to stay away from what? People, places, and things. Yeah. Yeah, so we need to stay away from those folks because those folks are going to trigger you. We need to stay away from those things because they're going to trigger us. We need to stay away from those places because they're going to trigger us. How many people you think is going to actually do that? Statistics, and I don't like statistics, but statistics show that very, very few people are going to do it. Most of the people, somewhere up above 90% of us that go to treatment, when we leave this treatment, going right back to the same people that we left. Right back. Same home, same group of people. Now, some of us may stay away from the places and the things, but getting away from people is almost impossible. The same people that we were drinking and using with yesterday are going to be over here to pick us up when we get out. And a lot of the times, they bring us a little something on the way out of treatment. It's almost impossible to stay in your recovery when we're doing that. So if we're really serious about our recovery, we're going to do some of those. We're going to get rid of some of those things. What it is in my life that I don't like. And in my recovery on sugar, my wife and I went out after church to Hamilton's, the seafood place, and trying to eat right. So we both had a couple of grilled fishes and everything's looking good. And while I'm eating this stupid grilled fish, I look over there and there's a young lady, and she had a big old cake about that big around. She's a waitress there. Cut that cake up. I watched her cut that cake up, and then on the inside it was kind of red looking, so it was probably one of those red velvet cakes with a white icing on it. She cut that thing up into about 12 different slices, and I'm thinking, I can eat that. I can eat that whole thing. So it's when you have that addiction, I have an addiction to sugar, and when you have that addiction, then you know that you're going to be triggered by stuff like that. So you need to stay out of it. Don't go to Rayo's. Don't go to Rayo's. 2 or 3 different reasons. First off, they're too expensive. They'll sell you a $9 cookie. Okay, don't go to Rayo's and get a $9 cookie. But you're going to get triggered if you happen to be a diabetic. So here's some of the signs. Most of us in here, we know the signs. We need to make a copy of the signs and take them to our people. If we're going to stay with those people or with our new people, let them know. People need to know. A loss of control over the substance. Using more of the substance than I intended to. Now you will recognize some of these statements as questions that you were asked on your assessment. We ask you on your assessment, have you ever gone out to use and used more than you had intended? Almost always. People say, well, no, Yes, you have. Everybody has. You go, you're going to have one beer, you wind up having 4. You go, you're going to have one beer, and that's it. You wind up having a little methamphetamine, or a little of this, or a little of that, or a little of this. So, using more than we had intended to do. So, do you think it's a good idea to have a plan when you go out to use? It's a really good idea to have a plan when you go out to use. My plan is not to go out to use. I've made the decision that my life is worth more to me than getting high. My life is worth more than me than feeling stupid. It just is. Difficulty reducing substance use. If I get to the place where, my money's gone before I get home on payday because I got to go out and use. I got to go out and spend my money so that I can get my drug. So if it's difficult for me to just cut down on that, stop. Is it a good thing if I use 10 beers a night for me to cut down to 8? That is. That's a great thing. That's progress. That's, I used to just beat people up for that, but look, it's a good thing. Progress is progress. You're down to 8. Thank God for that. Now let's get you down to 6. And for too long. I had a guy tell me one time, he said, well, I don't really drink that much. I don't drink that much. People think I do, but I don't drink that much. So, well, okay, how much do you drink? He said, well, I just drink. All I drink is enough to get me to where I can sleep at night. If I don't drink it, I can't sleep. I said, okay, you're using it for a reason, using it for medicinal purposes. How much do you use to drug yourself enough to go to sleep at night? He said, I never drink more than 12 beers a night. Since this is 7 days a week, you drink 12 beers every night. He said, no. Sometimes I only drink 10. Sometimes it's 14, 15, but usually it's around 12. So, okay. Can't not go to sleep without soda. You think he might have had a problem?
No.
Oh, sure. He had a problem. So, difficulty reducing substance use. Even look, when somebody says, okay, you're snorting 3 lines a day, I want you to cut down to 2. It's impossible. Can't do it. Well, 2.5 then. We feel like it's just impossible. I can't do that. That shows me that thing's got me by the shorts. All right. Significant time spent obtaining, using, recovering from the substance. Now, I spent some time going to get the substance, but it never was really that hard for me to go get. If you want to go get some marijuana, you can do it right out here probably. I was working for Centacor, and we had a real bad problem with the dope dealers coming up into the Centacor compound to sell drugs to the guys that were in treatment. And they would come to the windows. The police were out there all the time. The Centacor facility over there in Baytown is Pasadena. It was an old hospital, and they have the door, the windows right there. People can just pull up to it, and they're just selling drugs to them. So, okay, you're in treatment, but you're buying drugs from this guy. It's just crazy. That helps us understand we might have an issue. So I didn't have to spend a lot of time obtaining it. I did spend a lot of time using it and recovering from the use of that substance. It takes 2 days to get over it sometimes. But I usually didn't have that kind of issue because I'd wake up in the morning and my dad taught me to keep a little hair of the dog that bit you. And it was on the, keep out that much vodka. When I wake up in the morning, you drink that much vodka. That help your hangover? It help your sick belly and your bad head? It would. It also get you started on the next day's drunk. Right? So we did that a lot. Or I did that a lot. Having cravings, a strong desire to use whatever substance it is. I went to Miss Susan's office up here. She's HR up here. She hates me. In her office, there's this basket. What do you think's in that basket? Poison. Poison. Yeah, poison. She had those little, the little things, it's the sugar things, the snappies or whatever in there this morning, and she had a whole bunch of caramel, those round caramel things with the white nougat stuff in the middle of it. Oh, man. Yeah, and I'm telling you, I'm thinking, good, great. There's not but 10 or 12 of them in there. That ain't enough. I could eat all of those things. But, you get that when you see it, feel it, you have that desire to get it. And I've told y'all about 30 times, but I've been gone for 2 weeks. There's a dollar store over there. Man, they're bad. For $1.25. $1.25. You can get a whole box of moon pies for $1.25. For $1.25, you can get a whole box of Nutter Butter bars. And I'll buy them, and I'll eat 1 or 2, and I usually give them to Charnel. She don't have that kind of problem, so she can eat them. So there's some that's some real signs that we have that kind of problem because we have the desire to do that. We have a real and here's the deal. I have a real deep desire. Y'all know what a honey bun is, right? You know what a honey bun with the icing on it?
No.
Mm-hmm. I have a real deep desire to eat one of those things. They don't even taste good. I was noticing, I ate one not too long ago, and I was tasting it, and it's bitter. It doesn't even taste good. It's got all of this junk in it to keep it from rotting, and it's just not good. But I'm eating it anyway because it's got the sugar on it, and I know that when I eat that, it's going to shoot my sugar up to about 400. Now, if you were diabetic, you would know that you can go blind. I was at my eye doctor yesterday, so they make sure I'm not going blind, from diabetes and all of that mess. You can lose your feet, you can die from it, all of that kind of stuff. It causes stroke, it can cause heart attack, all that stuff. I know all that, and yet I'm eating the crap. That don't make sense, does it? Same thing with our drugs of choice and alcohol and whatever. We know that this is going to do this. We know that if I use this right here, right now, which I can, I'm full road, so I can go buy that whenever I want to, and when I put that into my system, it's going to make me go do this other stuff. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my car. I'm going to lose my family. I'm going to lose my life maybe, but I really want to do it anyway. Sounds like a real good idea. So even though all that crap is going to come upon me, I'm going to do it anyway. I have this craving. I have this limbic system that's telling me, you got to do it. You got to do it. You're going to die if you don't do it. You know you want to do it. You know you need to do it. You know you can do it. So let's go do it. You want to do it? Come on, let's do it. And so we're sitting there going, how am I going to deal with this monster that lives in my head? So, then we do some risky use. Another way of knowing that we have some addiction going on, using the substance in situations where it's physically dangerous. Can y'all think of a situation where using might be physically dangerous? Driving, that's the big one. I got my DWIs. Operating motor stuff, being in a boat, being on a lawnmower, anything like that. Anything. How about getting in a situation where you might get in an altercation? Yeah, that could be problematic as well. So all of those things can be dangerous.
Like IV drug use is dangerous in itself.
It is. It's dangerous in itself. Intravenous is dangerous, but skin popping is dangerous as well. Y'all know the difference?
Yeah, one in the vein, one.
Yeah, one goes in the vein, one goes into just under the skin. But here's the deal: if you're sharing a needle, does it make any difference to HIV where you put it? No. If there's HIV in that needle, you're gonna get it, whether you put it in your vein or you put it under your skin. So, physical or psychological problems caused by the continued use of the substance. This is a big deal. We know that we have an addiction problem when we know that what it's doing to us and we continue to use. Some of the physical problems, look, we do know that using alcohol or drugs over a period of about 20, 25 years is going to shrink your brain. Right? It'll shrink your brain up to about 20% of its normal size. Do you think that if your brain is shrinking, that you're thinking as well as you did before you were a user? No. We've got some psychological issues that are going on because of the fact that we've been using that drug. So, and these are things we need to know. We need to know that the use of alcohol and the use of drugs, even though some of this is legal, is socially acceptable, physically it's shrinking my brain. That don't make sense. Doesn't make sense for me to continue to use that drug knowing what it is doing to me physically, knowing what it is doing to me psychologically. Because I guarantee you, psychologically, you're not the same person that you were before you began to use the drug. So, all right, some of the other things. Got a few more minutes. Some of the other things, it can cause us some social problems. It can cause us some occupational problems. I'm going to tell you, if you're working for me, I have a little thing on the side, and if you're working for me and you come to work high, drunk, uh, how long do you think you're going to be working for me? Long enough for you to collect your crap, get out of my facility. I want you anywhere around me. I don't want you around anything. Because when we're high, when we're drunk, something like that, stuff that we do can be dangerous, not only to us, but to other people. I worked for a company, a safety guy for this company for a while, and they had a tool man there, and he's a really good tool man, little bitty guy. But he was a tool man for probably 40 years around there, and no problems ever. And then one day he came to work drunk. And I mean, he wasn't just hung over. This boy was drunk. And he got in that tool room, and you go up there and ask for a tool, if he could find it, he would throw it at you. Just, I mean, he was that gone. And so two of the other guys crawled in there with him, and guess what they did? They hid the fact that he was drunk. They supported him, took care of him, and okay. He could have caused some real bad stuff and probably should have had some consequences behind that, right? But, he threw we were a compressor company, and he threw a wrench about that big at a guy and just missed his head. I'm thinking, okay. And like I say, he wasn't a very big guy. I'm amazed somebody did just beat the snot out of him. But not fulfilling major obligations at work, school, or at home. What if you don't come to? It's just like group. If you don't come on time, or have you failed an obligation?
Yeah.
Why do we insist that you come to group on time? What makes the difference?
Because we got a job, we got to be on time.
Yeah. When you get out of here, you're probably going to want to get a job, and so we're helping you to learn to fulfill. Yeah, time management, fulfill your obligations, right? So if you don't come to group on time, you get written up. So that's what that's about, helping us to learn those things, helping us to fulfill major obligations at work. Social problems caused by continued use or substance. Anybody here still have friends that use? Okay. Why?
They're not friends I see. They're not. I stopped listening for products a while. And I'm just in a position now where I abandon this girl and just care about it from a distance. I don't have any intentions on going back to my whole life. Does it mean they're not my friends? Absolutely not. It just means I can't interact. So if I see them, I'm going to be cordial. But I'm not going to go out and party.
I think that's a good plan. I think a better plan is I don't want to talk to you at all.
Like this guy.
Yeah.
This guy, no good.
No good.
No good. When he walks out that door, it's goodbye.
It's just about. Yeah, I agree with that.
But when I'm going to put in this rock, right at his head.
And here's the deal. Sometimes, look, and you used the word earlier, abandon. That's not necessarily a bad word.
Right.
There's some people in my life that I have abandoned. I'm going to abandon. I prefer you to live in your zone, and I'm going to live over here because you're still drinking. What is the biggest reason that we stay connected with friends who are using? We're not through. We're not through. If you've got friends, I've had people tell me, well, that's my friend. Look, there's nobody out there that you're friends with that's worth your life. Yeah, yes.
Doesn't it say in the A something about leaving your old life behind with abandoned?
Yeah.
That means like
leave it.
Done.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're done. And 10 years from now, If you go back to see your friend that you used to use drugs with, is that going to bother you? It can. It can. I had a friend whose husband was in recovery, and he was in recovery for 30 years, and he went back. Okay, I've been clean for 30 years. He went back. He lasted about 2 weeks, and then he started using again. Quit his job. Um, Took out his 401k, bought him a new boat, bought him a new truck, divorced his wife, and was gone after 30 years. So it's serious. You have to abandon those people. You know, the deal is they will abandon you. The moment you've stopped using, the moment you've stopped spending money, they will abandon you. And they will abandon you. I've had so many people say, well, I know that you're in recovery, but I'm going to, okay, you go ahead, have a drink, do whatever you want to drink, but I'm not going to be around you anymore. So I have to be away from that lifestyle because getting into recovery, we mistake what recovery is. Recovery is not being sober. All of us have been sober. Getting sober is pretty easy. All we have to do is run out of money and we get sober. Now, whether we want to or not.
Recovery is a lifestyle.
Recovery is a totally different new lifestyle. You know, the lifestyle of recovery says I'm not hanging out with people who do. The lifestyle of recovery says I'm not going. What if that person doesn't even have a problem, but they just use socially? They can use socially with somebody else. They can't use socially with me. Will it bother me to see you drink a beer? Yes. So therefore, is it possible to never be around somebody that uses? Yes. I am. I'm never around people who use. Now, they may use secretly. They may use when I'm not around them that I don't know about, but that's okay. They never do it around me because I won't do it. I just won't. And I won't fool around with you if you do. Because even if it's socially acceptable, and even if you don't apparently have a problem with it, it can cause a problem in your life.
You know what it can do to you.
I do know.
What it can do to us.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like my mom. Uh, and she'll drink a Smirnoff or something every time. She is not an alcoholic. She will not have it around. If I go to her house, she won't have it out in the open. She knows how I am.
Right. My question for people who have a Smirnoff every now and then, what?
I'm the same with that.
What's the point? Why do you need that? You know, the deal about Smirnoff, I've had a lot of Smirnoff in my life, and Smirnoff every now and then don't make no sense. You got to have Smirnoff every day, all during the day. But if you're not addicted to it and you're just going to have it every now and then, I don't even see the point.
I'm the same way.
It's like having the liquor.
Yeah. What? Yeah. All right, real quick, yeah.
It's still something.
Decreasing or giving up important social or occupational activities is another way that we know that we're having a problem. Things that, okay, I've stopped going to AA, or I've stopped going, if I'm not trying to get into recovery, I've stopped going to church, I've stopped going to family things, I've stopped doing things that are socially acceptable. So, we got to go ahead and take our break. We'll get back at 15 minutes after, and we'll start again. And that's
Oh,
what
wow, we're proud. Yeah, right.
All right.
Yes, sir. Pleasure, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Trying to see quietly. Speaking of which, turn in right here. I think a 70-inch TV. I don't know what that is. That's got to be 80. That's 80 inches. Probably. Yeah, that's 80 inches. That's 75. That's 75. The TV for guy. Yeah, big room. Yeah. Well, no, actually, I did it bigger than this area right here, about half. Yeah. Sir.
we gonna put? I'll make that. What's up, man? Too. That's 85. You said we got right. We got the front. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Plus, it's not flat.
But geez, so that is working. That's it. Okay. Yeah. I don't know where it is, buddy. Hopefully. I don't know where it is.
Oh,
Dr. Norman, you live there. Bother you, but just kind of chill right here.
nice.
Scream. With.
Snoring.
Just, said,
Well, you need to stop falling on. I think it's a good idea to, if you're gonna fall, pick something hard to fall on.
they said that people in the room was hurting my head or it so hard.
When all that happened.
10 to 15 to stayed up all night in the hospital and they made a CAT scan. They gave me a Toradol, this pain, that's like, for narcotics. Like I said, it's like, they were really worried about it. Yes. So,
Well,
luckily I don't have a concussion.
I have problems sleeping. I've been there. Have issues sleeping.
But I was gone all day yesterday. I went out. I heard other places. Don't find most of the day. Came back. Oh yeah. Just went to lay down. Sail up. Yell. I stood up, I guess, trying to get some attention.
Getting up as high as you could before you went down. All right, guys, we're going to get started again. Where is everybody? Now, there's some other things we want to look at real quick. We're going to look at the physical effects, and then we're going to go into some addiction facts. And we'll get done here in just a minute. About 45 minutes at this time. We'll get it done. All right, so here's some of the things, some of the physical effects that happen when we start using. And I will tell you this, that I talk to people all the time, and they tell me they haven't built any tolerance. Because for some reason, when we go to the doctor or when we go to a counselor, we don't want to really tell them all, give them all the information. You know, we need to give somebody all the information so that they can help us. But even when we go to our medical doctor, most of the time, we won't give them all the information. We just don't want them to know the total, utter, and complete truth, and that keeps them from helping us. But if you have used alcohol and more than once, you've built tolerance. Because tolerance is something that your body builds to that drug, whatever it is. If you have anybody here like Brussels sprouts, I eat them. I'm not telling you I like them. They're really good for you, so I eat them. But, you know, they're not my favorite food, but I eat them 2 or 3 times a week because they're really good for you. But you can build a tolerance to that. I don't like them, but I can eat them because the first 2 or 3 I ate, I don't like them at all. And then I started, you know, okay. But I got to the place where I could eat them. I built a little bit of a tolerance to them. So, when you use alcohol, when you use drugs, you do build a tolerance to it. That shows you that says it takes more and more and more for you to get the same effect. So, building a tolerance, needing more of the substance to achieve the same effect, that shows us that there's something going on in our body that the drug is doing to us. And then when we get way back down into it a little bit, experiencing withdrawal, that's a physical or psychological symptom when not using the substance. What drug do we use that doesn't, what illicit, illegal drug do we use that causes no withdrawal symptoms?
Women.
What is it?
Women.
Women are not a drug.
Oh, yes, they are.
And they do, other human beings do cause withdrawal symptoms.
It's the dopamine. Like when I see a certain person that I enjoy, right? Doesn't that really open up like some sort of receptor? Certain receptors that the dopamine hits?
Absolutely.
That's women.
Yeah. Okay.
Weed doesn't have any physical withdrawal, does it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does?
Yes. And that's what I had. That's what I was expecting. Is when you somebody to say, you know, marijuana. But marijuana does have withdrawal symptoms. We have a couple of different withdrawal symptoms. We have psychological withdrawal symptoms and physical withdrawal symptoms. We have, when we stop using marijuana, we have a deep psychological need to use the drug again. And secondly, we do it our physical withdrawal symptoms when we stop using marijuana. We can have, we get really nervous and we get really snappy, agitated, and stuff like that. We also have a third thing, which is the same thing that we have when we stop smoking cigarettes, which is an oral fixation. We're used to having something stuck in our mouth. And so, that's also a withdrawal symptom because we got it. But that's when you see people putting cigarettes or marijuana or something like that, they're going to have a piece of candy in their mouth all the time. That is trying to fight that oral fixation. Have somebody in there having lunch during group time. Well, he needs to be written up. So missing group. So here's a couple of addiction facts that I want to share with you real quickly. And they're important for us to know the facts of this stuff, because here's the deal. I've had people tell me before, and it's true, but I've had people tell me, well, that's your opinion. Well, it's true, but it's my opinion that is shared by the American Medical Association and the American Psychological Association. Over 3,000 doctors have said these are the facts. You know, does that mean that I have to accept them as facts? No. I don't have to. Look, I don't have to. But the fact is that they're facts. And, you know, so, and they're probably true. Truth trumps facts, but these are, as far as I can tell, these are true. Addiction is a disease. That's one of the addiction facts. If we get a hold of the fact that it is a disease, it's going to help us in so many different ways. Addiction causes changes in the brain's structure and functioning. It is not caused by poor willpower or character flaw. Although those of us who use alcohol and drugs do operate in some character flaws. Usually these character flaws are caused by the use of drugs and alcohol. So it is a disease. We just need to, and I know that I'm beating on that a little bit, but we need to get a hold of that, because just like you said, if it is a disease, it's treatable. So addiction can grow slowly, and it's not always easy to see. You know, I've known people who've used for years, and then suddenly they can't stop using. So it doesn't just pop up on us one day, I've used this drug, and oh my God, I'm addicted. Is there any drug out there that you can become addicted to with just one use?
Sure.
What is it? There is. What is it?
I think heroin, crack,
Nicotine.
it's whatever hits that spot.
Whatever hits that spot, yeah. Now, cocaine is a drug that you can be addicted to cocaine with just one use. Now, not most people aren't. Most people, will use it, and then finally we're addicted to it. But it's very highly addictive, and you can become, some people who are susceptible to it can become addicted with just one use. And, that's an amazing thing. But, you smoke one crack rock, and you just really have a strong desire to have another. So it is a possible thing. So, but most of the time it grows slowly over time. Many people with addiction continue to function in some parts of their life, but have problems in other areas. You ever heard of anybody called a functional alcoholic? These are people who are still going to work. They're still going to church. They're still doing this. They're still doing that. And yet they have to have the alcohol and sometimes the other drugs in order to keep their lives kind of floating along. Yeah, the way that they want it to do. But does that make them any less an alcoholic? No, they're still an alcoholic. And we talked a little bit about Dr. Jelinek. He came up with the concept of an occasional alcoholic. Now, I think Dr. Jelinek was retarded. But he came up, and what he says is that, you can go along for 10 years, never have an issue, but then you go out and you go on a binge and go on a big bender and you just drink for 3 or 4 weeks or 2 months, and all of the things that are classic about addiction apply to you during that time, then you are addicted during that time. You're an addict during that time. And then you get off of it, stay off of it for 6 or 8 months, 2 years, and then go back and do it again. And that is what he stated was an occasional alcoholic. Okay, I understand the concept. I'm not sure that I agree with it. But, there it is.
There's still people out there that have that train of thought. I have friends in my life that I know that aren't. They have, what I can see, they have no addiction behavior at all. But they'll still swear up and down that they had some sort of life event and they hit the bag or the bottle and they didn't stop. I can't relate to that.
No, I can't. I can't either. I do know people like that who have I can't think of the word, started using when they had some type of event. And then when the event was over with or they had dealt with it, then they went back to, being a social drinker or not drinking at all. But I'm like you, I can't relate to that. If something happens, my wife passed away today or something like that, and I went and got something to drink, that'd be the end of me. Y'all wouldn't see me anymore, unless I sit out there. You wouldn't, and I probably wouldn't do that, but I'd be gone. Because I know where I was. And if I get back to where I was, there's no coming back from that again. So addiction can grow slowly. It's not easy to see. Many people with addiction continue to function in some area of their life, but they have problems in other areas. So those are the functional alcoholics. We know that they're there. We know that they can still function in some of those areas of their life, but that does not mean they're not addicts, and it does not mean that they don't have issues. They spend a lot of money on that. They miss a lot of family stuff. They're not going to the barbecues. They're not going to the baseball, football, soccer games. They're not doing those things. And if they do, they're going drunk. And if they show up at work, they're going to work every day, but they're going to work every day either already high, drunk, or hungover. And does that bother their productivity? Certainly. They can lose up to 30 to 40% of productivity. I have been at work with a hangover, and I'll guarantee you I didn't get to 70%. I wasn't giving 30%. I'd sneak out in the back of the facility and go to sleep in one of the old trucks out there. Something like that. I wasn't giving anything if I could get away with it. So there's some pretty nasty things, even if you're doing it well enough. And then relapse means what? Going back to using. That's the end product of relapse. That's the end product. Relapse means returning to regular substance use after a period of sobriety. A lapse, on the other hand, is an isolated incident of use without returning to old patterns of substance use. Now, here's the deal. I don't like lapses. I don't like relapse. Relapse is crazy. Is relapse okay? Is relapse going to happen? And I've taught in a long time, and I believe it, but it's dangerous for us to it's dangerous for us to get that concept. Relapse is a part of recovery. And we say that all the time. Relapse is a part of recovery. So if you relapse, you don't need to give up. If we relapse, we need to start again, right? If we relapse, we need to get started again. But here's the deal. Even though relapse is a part of recovery, relapse is by no means okay. Thank you for joining us for group. We need to talk after group is over with. My office is right there. I need you to come see me. Relapse is not okay. And there's two reasons relapse is not okay. First one is that if we get out there and we relapse, 50% of the people who go out and relapse don't make it back. They either die in their addiction or they just stay out there and live in their addiction. So they never get back to recovery. So it's not okay. Or they go out there and they relapse and they have some horrible life event, like they have a wreck, they get relapsed and they run off the road somewhere and something kills somebody or something like that, something horrible happens to them. So relapse may be a part of recovery, but relapse is not okay, right? So I don't need to get in my mind the mindset that it's okay that I relapse, because relapse is a part of recovery. No. What we need to get in our mind is that relapse is not okay. That's why I'm going to fight relapse with every bit of my body. I'm going to fight relapse with every bit of my mind. I'm going to fight relapse with everything. I'm not going back to those old people. They're going to cause me to relapse. I'm not going back to them. I'm not going back to those old places, because if I go there, no matter how much I want to go there, if it's going to cause me to relapse, I'm not going there. I'm not going to go back to doing those old things, because those old things may cause me to relapse. Is it a possibility for us to go back to old people, places, and things and not relapse?
Not for me.
Not for me, but there is a possibility. There's always that outlier. We talk about that guy, we talk about that girl all the time. There is always that outlier. And here's the problem with an outlier. That girl, that guy can go out there and go back to old people, go back to old places, go back to old things, and never relapse and have a wonderful life for the rest of their life and stay in their recovery. And why is that a bad thing?
Use that as an example.
Yes, we'll use that as an example. We'll look what Mary did. Look what Bubba did. He did it. That's not true. And, you can't say you can't go back to old people, places, and things because I know this guy, I know this girl, I know this woman. Okay, there's always that one that we can point to as a good example for bad behavior. Let me tell you something. Going back to old people, places, and things is bad behavior, which can lead us to relapse. Now, if we're serious, y'all hear me now, I'm not being mean to anybody, but let me tell you, if we're serious about not relapsing, if we're serious about not going back to being who we used to be, then old people, places, and things are one of the least things we have to worry about. I'm just going to stay away from them. I'm not going back. When I leave here, I'm going somewhere else. Sometimes, and I do know this, sometimes that's impossible. I got no other place to go. I got nothing else to do. I have to go back to those people and do those things at that time. I had a guy, and I know I've told this story, but I only have 3 stories. But I have to retell it. I had a guy that was working with me, trying to get sober and all of that kind of stuff, and he worked over here at Cowboy Harley Davidson, and every day at the end of the day, they would bring out a tray with beer and wine and hard liquor and all that stuff on it. The boss would lock the front door, and he made the statement that everybody had to have a drink before they could go home because they had done such a good job. And I said, you don't have to. Look, I'm full grown. I'm about to be 72 years old. I'm 5'8", weigh about 145 pounds. Ain't nobody gonna fool with me. But look, I am old enough, big enough, bad enough, mean enough to tell that guy, I don't drink, dude. I'm not doing that. I'm in recovery. You can do anything you want to with the rest of these boys, but I'm a man. And I'm telling you, I don't use, and I'm going home. If you don't like that, fire me. But he told me that. So we need to be at a place where we know that if I'm going to go back to that person, no place, that's going to steal my recovery. I don't need to go there, right? I don't need to be doing this. We need to be thinking about that now. We need to be thinking about where I'm going, how I'm going to get out of here, what I'm going to do when I get out of here. Because most of the time, we are not that outlier. We're not. It's like the person winning the lottery. Do people win the lottery? Yeah. They're a major outlier. 99.99.9% of people who play the lottery never win it. There's that one guy or that one lady who's going to win the lottery every now and then. So we're not going to, so if I'm banking my future, I'm not saving any money, I'm not doing anything, I'm not putting up any 401k money, I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff. What I am going to do is take my money and go buy me a ticket to, or 100 tickets so that I'm going to win the lottery. That don't make sense, does it? Because you're not going to win the lottery. So it's the same way. I'm going to go back. Look, I know I want to stay in my recovery. So I'm going to go back to old people, places, and things, but I have this deep desire to stay in my recovery. Is that going to keep you clean? No. Your desire to stay clean is like here. Your limbic system telling you you're going to die if you don't use is up here. And the people who love you, now look, y'all don't get angry, but the people who love you and tell you I will never use around you, lie. You do. They will, because their limbic system is more powerful than their love for you. And so they'll use. At some point, they're going to come over and say, hey, blah. Thought you wasn't going, well, I ain't use around you, I use, okay. But now I smell the alcohol, I smell all of that stuff, and so, we need to stay away. So relapse is all of that. Relapse can happen at any point in recovery. Relapse is returning to that old pattern of substance use. It can happen at any point in our recovery. And our recovery is a lifelong process. It ain't, it's not over. I had a lady over at North. She's not there anymore. But some of you may have been there when she asked the question. She raised her hand and she said, hey, Dr. Garner. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, how long will it be before I can have another drink? So how long will it be? And what's the simple answer? There's a convenience store right down the road here. You can have one now. You get out of the group and just walk, and it's just right down. Go down. You can have one now. Because now is the same as 10 years from now. 10 years from now is the same as 50 years from now. If you want to be in recovery, then recovery means I don't use anymore. Anything. Anymore. For any reason. All right? So if you have a new baby, I'm not going to get into toast with you. I was at a wedding one time, and the guys, they were toasting with champagne. And the guy tried to give me a flute of champagne. I said, no, thank you. He said, well, everybody's doing that. I said, not everybody. He said, well, it did you. I said, look, if you don't get that away from me, I'm going to take it away from you, and you ain't going to like it. He said, I thought you was a Christian. Yeah. When a mean Christian. Yeah, I'm like Peter. I'm a mean Christian. So you need to get out of my face. I was the pastor. I was the guy that did the wedding. And he tried to make me drink some of this crazy man. But, not only am I a pastor, but I'm in recovery. And those are the two things I make sure everybody knows when I meet them. So, relapse can happen at any time. I told you all about the guy that had been in recovery for 30 years, lost everything. Those who are in recovery are at heightened risk during periods of stress. Stress makes us want to do what? Yeah, we need to do something to deal with the stress. Well, is it one of my coping skills, or my biggest coping skills when I was out there was what? Alcohol and drugs, right? That's what I coped with. When there was a stressful situation, when I couldn't do something, when I had something going on, then I used a little alcohol. That would help for a moment, and then I would use whatever else I needed to use to make me feel good, right? That would get that stress out of there. So what's going to help me now that I can't use drugs and alcohol? Exercise. The man said exercise. Exercise is a really, really magnificent way to help deal with stress. Why is that? It releases endorphins. That's exactly right. It is also a good way to deal with cravings. It's a great way to deal with all of the things that's going on in my life when something happens. And how many people know that once we get out of here, we're not going to have a stress-free life? Look, I'm in recovery. I got a job. I got a house and cars and all of that kind of mess. I got a wife that I just called, but I don't live a stress-free life. You know, I went down. We were going on our little vacation, so I took my trailer down to have them grease the slide. Because I just kind of live in fear of that slide going out and not coming back. You can't pull it like that, so I have them grease it before we go out. And since I bought it from them, they'll do a 15-point check. And they checked my roof, and I had roof rot. Had some holes in it, some roof rot. So they patched it up for me, and I took it anyway. We're out there on the thing. We're at Rick Wood State Park, and we're parked in there. And the Weather Channel said, "Man, you're going to have some 60-mile-an-hour winds tonight, and some some hail and all of this kind of mess." I said, "Okay, that's going to be wonderful. That's going to be great." And so the winds never came, and the hail never came, but the rain came. I mean, it rained like crazy. And my wife, all of a sudden, it started dripping on her. And look, didn't bother me. My side of the bed's dry, It just started kind of dripping. And so, did that cause stress?
Yeah.
It did, yes, sir.
Somebody warned you that was going to happen.
Yeah, somebody did. Yeah, somebody did, but there are people you just don't pay any attention to. Yeah. But it did, and when we got it back, I got up on top of it and I took a look, and where they had patched it, just bumping up and down on the roads and stuff, and had cracked that patch, and it's just on her side there. But there's a guy there today that's repairing it, and let me tell you this: if you ever get a trailer like that and you need it repaired, I got a guy. Okay, I give you his number. The company that was going to repair it wanted $10,000 to repair the roof. $10,000. Did I make that plain? They wanted 10,000. I told that guy, "Look, it's a piece of plywood, man. It's a piece of plywood. You put a piece of plywood up there," and he said, "Oh no, you got to do. Oh, it's okay. 10,000." So I dragged it home, and I had this guy come over, Mr. Young. He took a look at it, and he said, "Well, I'll fix that for you for $350. $350 as opposed to 10,000. Anyway, don't let them do that. So anyway, there's always going to be stress in your life. Sometimes it's going to be good stress. How about when your kids get married? That's stressful. How about when you have grandchildren? I've got great grandchildren now, and that's stressful. When your grandchild calls you up and says, "Hey, Grandpa, if it'll be a great grand," okay, yeah. I went to when my daughter-in-law had my little grandbabies over there. I went and talked to them, and they're just little bitty babies about that big. I said, "Okay, son, when you get a little older, you start talking. You can call me Dr. Garner. Okay, don't be calling me all that. Guess what they call me? Paw. Hey, Paw. I said, "Boy, I told you, But anyway, there's some things, we're always going to have that. And when that stress gets in there, whatever that stress is, there's good stress, there's bad stress. If the police call you and say, "Hey, your son's locked up," or "Your grandson's locked up," that cause stress in your life? Yeah. I had the police call me and tell me my grandson was in the pokey. In my wife's life, that caused a bunch of stress. Ain't caused that much stress in my life. He's safe. He's in jail. They ain't going to kill him. He'll be out in 10 days. So we left him there for 10 days, and he learned a couple of lessons. But it is kind of stressful. I went down on it. He was in the jail for his 18th birthday. So I went down to the jail and they gave him $10 for his 18th birthday. Guess what he did? They had a machine in there that had potato chips. He bought $10 worth of potato chips and gave it to the other guys. Because he's a little nervous about being in jail. Okay, that's great. So there's some things that we can do about it, but in those areas, those times of stress, we need to know that that's going to be a heightened place for us. And so I need to be, when I'm ready for stress, when stress comes, I need to be ready to do something about it. I used to take a drink. Now what I'm going to do is go do some exercise. The other thing I'm going to do is pray about it. I'm going to pray anytime there's some stress in my life. I'm going to pray about it. Is there any stress in my life today, you think? Of course there is. There's always stress in your life. And so, we're going to have, I do have some stress. And just talk to my wife, and she has issues, and she's driving her truck, and she's here in town. She's going to the stores and stuff, and that's always a little stressful for me, because I've ridden with her, and she's crazy. Yeah, so it's a little stressful. So I need to be ready and need to be prepared when that stress comes. Now, there is stuff that we can do, and y'all know all this, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. Got just a few more minutes. But there's a lot of things we can do to help us with addiction when we figure out, hey, you know what, I'm actually addicted to this mess. I actually can't do this by myself. And this is one of the things that you'll notice about this guy. You hear him up here all by himself. He's out in the woods. Kind of, what are these? What kind of bird is that? Is it? Crow.
Black red bird.
That's a red bird. Thank you. What kind of bird is that?
Bluebird.
That's a bluebird. Got bluebirds and we got red birds. But that's the only person around you. There's nothing out there but just him. So he's trying to do this by himself. That's what this is about. This is when we get to the place where we understand, first off, I have an addictive problem. I'm addicted to whatever I'm addicted to, and I can't get it away from me by myself. I can't do this alone. That's why we have AA groups. That's why we have NA groups. That's why we have treatment facilities. Texas is just about like, with treatment facilities, about the same as we are with Baptist churches. If you walk around the block, you're going to find the Baptist churches somewhere. There's probably 3,500 Baptist churches here in Beaumont. They're all over the place. I pastor Bethel Baptist Church in West Orange, Texas. You walk down the road about probably 3 blocks, and you've got Calvary Baptist Church. You go another 3 blocks, and there's First Baptist Church. You go across the street over here, and there's Pentecostal Church. Go down the road over here, and there's the First Christian Church. And right on down the road over here is another denominational church. And they're just all over the place, but we have treatment facilities the same way. Why do you think there's so many Baptist churches out there? Because people need people. We need to get it. Not because they love God so much, because if you've ever been in a church long enough, you'll notice a bunch of those people don't love God. But they need to be with other people. So we need to have people helping us. The treatment facilities are just about as numerous. They're everywhere. But that's because there's people who have an issue with drugs and alcohol also need to have people. Need to have people. So that's something we need to do to help us with that. Here's some of the things. We can have treatment on several different levels. You can go to an individual therapist. We have some therapists that work for us. They don't do the individual things because they work for us, but a therapist helps change substance-related thoughts and behaviors and increase motivation for change. That's a real good thing. When we go to see the therapist, they're going to help me change my ideas about my using. Look, I've talked to so many people, even people who are desperate to get away from it, and they'll tell me some stuff like, this is my life. Okay, that's one of those thoughts I have. No, you're not just hurting yourself. Who are you hurting? Everybody in your family, everybody that you work for, everybody that knows you. In some way, you're affecting everybody. So that therapist can help you with that. And then group therapy is what we do in here a lot. This is an education group. The group you're going to do this afternoon is a process group. So that one is where you can get deep into that stuff. Group therapy, though, is led by therapists. Members are encouraged and support one another in making meaningful life changes. So we're supposed to be in here encouraging each other to make meaningful life changes. Y'all know of any life changes I need to make?
Stop going to the dollar store.
Stop going to the dollar store. What was your?
Quit eating sugar.
Quit eating sugar altogether.
Quit lying.
Quit lying. Yeah. See, some of y'all don't know I'm in recovery from lying too, because I'm a liar. I do that. I do. I will exaggerate on anything. Yeah. Somebody say, "Does that hurt?" And before I'm over with, I'll be in the hospital. So I'm in recovery from that. So look, if I'm blunt to you, if I tell you the truth just straight out, just blunt, like, hey man, you got bad breath, it stank, it really stank, brush something, take something, do something, that's because I'm in recovery from lying. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to do my level best. And if I lie to you, I take a couple of steps, I may come back and say, wait a minute, that was a lie. You're not pretty. You're an ugly man. I'm gonna tell you the truth because I'm in recovery from you. So if I tell you something blunt, don't get your feelings. So there are also, and we need to take advantage of the self-help groups that are out there. AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, all of those things. They're abso-stinking-lutely free. Do they work? Yeah, that's what I've heard my whole life. It works if you work it. If you're really serious about it, yeah, they work. They have worked for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So here's the deal. They may work for you too. Do they work for everybody?
No.
Probably not. There are some people that are just stubborn enough. There are some people who are prideful enough. There are some people who are so afraid that they're not going to allow it to. What is it? Mentally incapable. They are. There's some people mentally incapable. So, but support groups meet with peers who are also in recovery and participate in a social environment free of substances. We have a group that goes down to the beach. I don't go with them. They go down to the beach and they have sober stuff that they do. They play volleyball and they do all kinds of stuff down on the Galveston beach. I have nothing for the Galveston beach. I don't like all of that stuff, so I don't go down there and do all of that kind of stuff. But there are other things that you can do that's sober. My wife and I go every 3 months. We go to a dinner theater, and it's all the way over in Deer Park. But it's nice to have a really nice lunch, a really nice dinner every time we go. And they put on a play. Sometimes the play is great, sometimes it's not. But it's something to do sober because, there's hundreds of people there, but no one is drinking. So that's a good place for you to go. So go to support group. It's important for us to be with other people who are not drinking, who are not using whatever your drug of choice is. So there is also, we talked about it a little bit. It's not my favorite thing, but there are medications that we can use. Sometimes it's necessary, right? There's medications that'll keep you off it. Used in specific cases for symptom management, medication is most effective when paired with therapy. So, anybody think of a medication that can be used to help with all of this? Methadone. What was it? Yeah, methadone. Suboxone. Methadone. Well, either one of those, they use the same way. Methadone is good. Yeah. Methadone's a good drug, and I like methadone. It's not the methadone that's the problem, it's the people. Because there are methadone clinics that have allowed people to stay on the drug for 30 years. And they're functioning. It's like they're a functioning addict. So they're functioning. They're going to work, and they're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, coming by and getting their daily dose of whatever, and they're going to work, and they're being able to do all of that stuff. But my goal in life is to get off drugs, get off alcohol, get off drugs. My other goal in life is to get everybody in the world off of drugs and off alcohol. I don't want anybody to have to be a slave to this mess. You know. So, questions, comments, or snide remarks? I don't believe this group of guys don't have a snide remark.
Saying to each other.
Ah, okay. Well, I appreciate that. Well, we're going to quit a little bit early. My first day back, so we quit a little bit early. I appreciate y'all. Ladies, I'm going to be over there in a moment to pick up my sign-in sheets, and I appreciate y'all. We're dismissed, and thank you for